This week in board game news, we've got broken records and stolen product. All this and more for the week of April 26th, 2023. Our first story is actually going to be two combined as they both involve the Pokemon trading card game and involve a lack of product. The first part of this is going to involve theft. A little while back, a set was released known as Fusion Strike. This set had, of course, like usual, many chase cards, and one card store, Trading Card World, got someone to come in who was trying to sell a bunch of these chase cards. Now, they came in with a ton, enough that the store pretty much thought of there could only be two conclusions to this, either counterfeits or the cards being stolen. The seller clarified that these were real and they actually came from a factory, which led them to go down the path of stolen. They reported this, and it turns out that this is pretty much the biggest theft, or at least theft that has been caught, of Pokemon trading cards. This person apparently worked in the factory that printed the cards and was pulling the expensive alternate art, hard-to-find cards off the factory conveyor belt, whatever, in order to pocket them and then sell them later. I'll put up an image, and you can see that there are a ton of these cards. Now, this has led some people to speculate that this affected the pull rate of cards, as Fusion Strike apparently had a really poor pull rate when it came to getting the more desirable cards. However, Pokemon let out a message saying that they checked things at the very end, so this shouldn't have affected the pull rates. It's maybe just the pull rates they expected and designed for that set, which, as I said, very low and not a lot of people happy about. But regardless, this is a very interesting and probably is going to cause a bit more scrutiny and security, not just for Pokemon trading card games, but I imagine for other trading card games as well when it comes to the factory level of the card printing. But let's fast forward to the most recent sets reprinted, Clayburst and Snow Hazard. These were just released in Japan and are impossible now to find as they've sold out everywhere. Apparently, some of those chase cards from before, well, these are selling for quite a bit, with some selling for over $1,300. Because of this, everyone's trying to buy them up and get those lottery tickets, and this has caused the entire product to sell all through the nation of Japan. They have apologized for this, and they're working to bring more product in order to make sure it's available for whenever you want to buy a pack or a box, not to be this rare and hard to find item. This is going to be a big deal as it sells, I think it's about 3 months ahead versus the rest of the world. So if you are a big fan of Pokemon, it sounds like these sets will be hard to find unless they're able to up the printing before they're released elsewhere. So get your pre-orders in now. We're staying, though, in the world of trading card games, so this one's a bit more controversial, and that is with Magic the Gathering. Now, a little while back, I probably mentioned about the Marching Machines set that was released. There is, though, a smaller set being released of only 50 cards, this one called Marching Machine Aftermath, basically designed to be an epilogue, or more likely the 10-minute after credits scene that happens in Marvel movies. Basically, not a full set, more there for the lore and story. Now, we have seen some product images, so people had some speculations, but someone accidentally were able to get their hands on some packs and open them up. Because it's a smaller set, they basically opened up every card, showing off the entire set. This means the entire set got leaked way before the set was supposed to be released, or leak season. I don't know what the official term is for when they start slowly showing off cards. Regardless, to say, this has been very interesting in the Magic community. One, just for the idea of how people feel about leaks again, because for content creators, if you get the card, well, that ruined all the surprise of people going to view your video and doing things like that. On the other hand, people just want to see the card and make choices, especially consumer choices. It's actually caused a lot of interesting, like some people saying they're canceling their pre-order because the set's too weak. Also, there was a reprint in there, so the value of that card is dropping now because everyone knows that should be in more abundance, so on and so forth. Magic, on the other hand, decided that they're going to go a bit more of a direct aggressive path. They hired the Pinkertons, who you may recognize from history, or if you played Red Dead Redemption 2, to collect the cards back from the person. They went there and not only terrified the guy's wife, apparently, but also got all the cards back from the new set. They also learned that apparently, from what they can tell, I don't know if the guy actually told them everything, but what he's told us, he's later taken down his videos of the spoilers, that Probably the person selling it to him didn't mean to give him that because they probably expect to give him just March of Machines and gave him the March of Machines Aftermath instead. And maybe this will be a lesson for Magic to not name two sets so close to each other. But this whole thing has caused a lot of drama now in terms of the aggression used to deal with said leaker. Now, I will say, to give credit to Magic, that they did provide the Pinkertons a number for the guy to call, in which the guy actually talked to an actual Magic representative who supposedly was much nicer and also promised to compensate in some way for the product being taken. But that was already past the damage being done of these very aggressive people doing some very big threats. And at least in that sense, most people that I've seen online aren't pretty happy about that. And I can see why. I think if they were able to track down the guy's location and address, they probably could have jumped straight to the, "Hi, I'm calling from Magic the Gathering. We need to talk about those leaks," rather than the straight up muscle first. Though you maybe want to argue that because of the muscle, the other one looks much more nicer and makes you more agreeable. But regardless, I feel like there are much slower ways to deal with it. And it doesn't take away the leaks. He may have taken down his videos, but even if I'm not showing them here, you can find them. They're out there. So this is definitely going to be, it's a lot of discussion, but I think Wizards of the Coast, hopefully they learn. Maybe if you're going to use a private detective agency, use it just to find the place you can contact them. But also the whole idea of March Machine Aftermath, maybe be careful about the naming system, because I do agree this probably was given to him in accident, not a malicious theft or the distributor being like, "Hey, let me give you this product early" kind of deal. Especially for Magic, most distributors I used to talk to are very, very wary when it comes to trading card products. They're like, "We will not sell this early," so because they don't want to lose it. It's a moneymaker. So regardless, this has been a big kerfuffle. I think most people can agree that the hiring of Pinkertons are bad, but I am more curious on what everyone's thoughts are in terms of the leaks. Do you think that if you did come across such a situation that you should be posting all the card images? Should you wait until the actual release date? Because technically then you could be the first still to post, but that way you're not ruining all the release scheduling and planning and stuff. You can let me know about that in the comments down below. We're keeping theme linking through our story, as this time we're going to continue on with Wizards of the Coast, but this time in a bit more of a positive story. Andrew Ashby of We Geek Together decided to run a huge campaign against the now famous D&D Lich Lord, Vecna. Now, he asked for about 500 people to join him in the mall, but it turns out over 1,200 people came to fight on this great evil. Because of this, they have now broken the Guinness World Record for largest D&D session. So that is a cool award. And now now that he's broken this and in the news, I feel like oftentimes can happen with record-breaking events, that we may see larger gatherings try to beat this and do a similar idea. Hell, I wouldn't be surprised if, because of this, Wizards of the Coast makes a specific large con scenario for people to run at Gen Con Gamma, which is happening right now, and I'll probably talk more about that later on in the week. Things of that nature, just to give that super D&D experience, and maybe in a way that would fit well. Like, for example, most D&D campaigns, you can probably guess, are designed to fit a much smaller party, one that actually can fit inside a normal room. It'd be interesting if they went back to D&D's roots, was a bit more of a war game, and made it so it was designed the idea of, well, what happened if we got 50 wizards, 20 barbarians, and 100 fighters all together to fight some siege battle? So congratulations to Andrew Ashby and Wizards of the Coast. This seems to be the perfect time, like I said, for you to redesign those special con exclusive siege large battles. You already brought those to Magic the Gathering. Let's bring them now to D&D. Our final story, though, is going to be about the Golden Geek Awards, as the 17th award ceremony voting is now out. You can now vote on which of these titles you would like. So instead of me flashing up the options, as there's a lot more than when I did with the Dice Tower, and that one already was a lot of work, this one you can actually visit the link. I'll have a link down below, but you can visit it. And for either a one-time payment, or if you've already paid before, you don't need to do it again, you can vote on these and see who you think should win the award. This is a really nice, as one, the money goes to what I think is safe for me to say one of the central pillars for board gaming in terms of finding out answers to questions, as well as it's a bit more of a fan-based award system rather than one where there's just a few judges of we could argue all we want on who we think should win, but in the end it's down to 3 other people. So please go click the link down below and check it out. If you've already paid, definitely go vote. If not, consider it, because I think the money is going to a good place. And of course, voting on these things is very nice, and just to see where the audience is. And some of these aren't just games. They're also things like the best board game podcast. So content creators there really get a nice boost. Just obviously if you win the award, but knowing that if you got a lot of votes, it definitely means something to them to just know that people are supporting their content. It's now time for game announcements, and first we're going to visit Darrington Press, which has announced 3 new games. If you don't know, Darrington Press is actually created by the people of Critical Role, so most of their games, at least I think most of them as of now, are set in that Critical Role universe. The first game announced was Queen of Midnight. This is a game where princesses are fighting each other to become the queen. It has a large clock tower in the center, keeping track of time, which also is befitting of the name. Next one is titled Illuminated Worlds, which is titled as a dice role-playing tabletop game, so I don't know if that means just a different RPG system or if it's designed to be more of a smaller, like tabletop RPG-like experience, but not the one where you're actually playing like D&D. And the final one is Daggerheart, which is said to be for longer fantasy campaign systems. I'm not sure yet whether these are designed to be, like I said, the standalone RPG-like experience, but you can play at just a random board game night, or if this is actually going to be their new sort of central rules. As if we recall, or in the beginning of the year, pretty much every RPG streaming or company that was vaguely involved with D&D pretty much decided that they need to go make their own rules after the whole OGL mess. But then we have a screen game coming from Funko Games, so if you're a big fan of that movie series, you can go pick that up. But for video game fans, we actually have a Call of Duty game coming from Arcane Wonders that, to no surprise, will be a Kickstarter, then later released in retail in 2024. In terms of anniversary editions, we also have got a 5th anniversary for Decrypto, an amazingly fun party game, and if you don't have the original, I highly suggest you pick this one up as it's one of my favorites. And finally, this one actually just dropped while I was recording, so I felt like I should still add it in. At Gamma, it was announced that a new campaign book for the Alien RPG has been announced, titled Building Better Worlds. I probably have more Gamma announcements later on, and whether that'll be a next news video or maybe its own video, just stay tuned. But still, something very exciting, as I had an amazing time playing this RPG. You can actually check out our actual live stream of it if you want to see more. But now we enter Kickstarter Pickstarter. Let's see what projects are worthy of your time. First one really quick I'm going to shout out is Naughty or Nice. This is a Christmas themed game, and this is one I did not only just a preview video, but an how to play video for. So you can check that out if you want to not only see what the game's like, but also just how it plays. It is Christmas themed, but I do like that it goes beyond than simple just Santa, reindeer, and elves, as there are other mythological creatures included that if you are like me and have a much more American-centric view of Christmas, you might not know about. So definitely a cool one to take a look at, especially obviously if you celebrate Christmas. But moving on, we're going to first talk about Guards of Atlantis 2. This game is meant to simulate your classic MOBA, be it either League of Legends or Dota. You will play as heroes trying to fight your way, push your own little minions across, and destroy the enemy base. And the board is double-sided to fit plenty-sized groups fairly, so you can either just play a simple 2v2 or go all the way up to a 5v5 match. This is actually for a second printing. The first one we actually did a video for, so you can go watch that. But I will say, unlike when I usually just shout out ones I've just done videos for, this is for a new printing, which means there can be some changes and new things into the product. So you could watch our video maybe for a basic guide, but know that there probably is going to be more added, either in some rule tweaks or some new characters. Regardless, this is great for those who do love that MOBA game style, and definitely one worth checking out. For the core game, it's going to cost you about $65, but of course, if you know MOBAs, that means that there are plenty of new heroes to add on after the initial purchase, so there are plenty of expansions for you to add on if you want a larger hero roster. The next game to talk about is To Glory. This game has you play as pirates picking up and trying to deliver treasure, but the twist is the dexterity element. Each of you will be playing as captains standing on your own ship, and as you go around, other ships, including the castle and a kraken, may be able to shoot black cubes at you, trying to knock off your captain. So this has this fun little dexterity element, which I think fits perfectly with the run and gun mentality of pirates. If you're interested to throw down here, it's going to cost you about $45 for the standard edition, but if you want to get all the pretty stuff, that one is going to cost you $70 for the deluxe version. Our next game is a spiritual successor, Endeavor Deep Sea. The previous one, Endeavor Age of Sail, is a beloved strategy game on Board Game Geek, so I'm sure many people are excited to try out this new version. This one takes on a new theme, which is now about conservation and exploring the ocean. You will have to dive down deep in order to find different resources, new species, different environments, and improve your workers. While it will use many of the familiar systems from Endeavor, this is a brand new game, not just the same game with a different theme printed on it. It will have different scenarios. All of them will be compatible with a competitive, cooperative, and solo mode, meaning you'll have tons of different ways to play this game. If you are interested in exploring this game, you can pick it up for $69. But here are some projects you may want to pick up before it's too late. The first one is the Thorgal game from Portal Games. Once again, another one I have a video for, so you can go check that out. As well as the Santorini I brought up a little while ago, which is a grade 2 player, but now also has the cooperative Riddle of the Sphinx expansion. Then we have a game called Chemical Overload, which is all about crafting fun, different kinds of potions. And then finally, Nova Ruma, which comes from the game designer Stan Kordonsky, which designed a ton of beloved Euro games, including Endless Winter, which recently got nominated for a ton of Dice Tower awards, as well as plenty of other beloved games, including Lockup, one of my favorites. But that is all the news we have this week. Let me know your thoughts on these stories, a lot about trading card games and how they end up in the wrong hands, so to speak. Let me know how you deal with a lot of these things, whether it be cards actually stolen, leaks, or someone technically getting it just not when they're supposed to. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments down below. But for now, that is all I have for this week. Thank you so much, whether you commented or simply like, share, subscribe. All that means a lot. But for now, that is this week's News Roundup. I'm Will, and I'll see you next week.